1. KenCast.
Hey everyone, welcome to KenCast. This is the first day since the launch of season 5 that I've done a live stream. I'm so happy that you're all with us today. It's great to see you, so many of you in the chat. I want to let you know that I am upgrading. I'm going through options of upgrading the stream. I want to thank everyone who has supported this channel through super chats or through memberships. Thank you so much. And I want to make sure you see your dollars at work. So let me know in the feedback what you think of this stream, the quality of the stream. And we're going to have a very exciting talk today. Season 5 is out. I'm sure you've all seen it. And we have a very special guest joining us today. You have seen him before. You have probably seen him all over YouTube. He has some of the greatest analysis of the Cobra Kai series, and he has new videos out, a number of new videos about the characters of season 5. So it is my pleasure to introduce Strife the Warrior. Strife, how are you doing, man? It's great to see you.
Hey, I'm doing good. Good to see you too. After that intro, I better deliver, man. You're giving me hyping me up like I'm going out for a big fight or something. So,
well, you are Strife the Warrior, right?
That's true.
So, yes, Strife is a winner. Guys, check out his videos. We're going to talk about them today. I've got links in the description. How are you doing? Because we are content creators. We make things. We make things about Cobra Kai, and it has been very busy lately. And how are you holding up?
Doing good. I started taking a different approach compared to season 4 of, it's balanced, as Mr. Miyagi would say, of, getting whatever I want to get down in thoughts, like on the paper or the script, so to speak. And then also making time to also relax too and just play, because I've had a very bad habit of just being kind of like a robot and just focusing. And that's kind of why I only put out so many videos for, season 4 when it released. Especially when you're having to do analysis on characters you haven't covered before, like John Kreese, for example. At the time, that was my longest analysis, and I had to research all the way back from Karate Kid 1 all the way up into when his prominent role from season 2 through 4. So other than that, I'm doing okay. I've a lot of season 5 rewatching, as I've kind of talked about my process before. Anytime I'm focusing on a specific character, I will watch all the episodes where it's just focused on a scene with them. And then so it's kind of a lot of rewatching and whatnot and just taking notes and whatnot. So very, very, intensive study, so to speak.
I know. And that's something too that I think we have to do if we're doing great analysis and everything. We need to get absorbed into it. And sometimes it does take time. We have to take notes and do all those things. And so, thank you everyone for bearing with us. And the fruits of that time is shown in great videos like the ones you've put out, Strife. So it's great. It's great to have you here. It's great to have everyone here. Robert, great to see you. Chris, great to see you again. Peter from Cobra Kai Companion Podcast, your sight for sore eyes. Thank you, Peter. Thank you very much. Your avatar is a sight for sore eyes too.
I got to give a shout out to Peter though. Some of you guys might have seen one of my tweets kind of went semi-viral in the Cobra Kai space with my Chozen video, and if it wasn't for Peter, that would have not happened, because he as soon as he retweeted it, it just took off. So Peter, thank you again. I know I told you in private, but I'm just gonna tell you thank you again because I really appreciate it. So.
Yeah, Peter's a cool guy. Guys, check out his channel, Cobra Kai Companion Podcast. Amazing, amazing content, and always a great supporter of everyone in the Cobra Kai community. Marcius, hey, Ken, what do you think of the theory that Silver's terminally ill? Oh my goodness. I don't know whether to get into this now or maybe we should save it. Maybe we should
probably save that. Yeah.
Let's save that. I have very, very strong feelings about all matters Terry Silver, so we'll get into that. Great to see you, Lara. Great to see you. Robana says hi, Strife.
Hi, Robana.
Number 5.
Let's go, Strife.
Let's go, Strife.
Hey, number 5.
Lisa, how are you? Oh, thank you, Lisa. Good to see you. And I'm doing great. I'm here with Strife the Warrior and all of you beautiful people. So Detective Bat asked the key question: who will get 50%? It's a great question. Will Sensei Kim get her 50%? Does she want the 50% anymore? Lisa says, what was your favorite episode of season 5? That's a really interesting question. Yeah, we'll have to get into this. We have a lot to talk about, Strife. It's great to see all your questions. I'm so glad you're all here with us today. Let's start, as we always do, with news.
Okay. KenCast news.
Okay, so Strife, I know that season 5 has come out, and that's probably our biggest news story. And let me kind of bring up our slides here. Again, we are on a new platform, so I'm interested in you guys telling me your thoughts on this platform. But here we go. So here, I'll put this over here. Okay, so here is season 5. It's a brand new season of Cobra Kai that's come out. I'm guessing all of you have seen it by now. If you haven't seen it, just be aware that we're going to be talking about things that are going to be spoilers of season 5. So definitely, if you don't want spoilers, come back to this on the replay. Some of you might be watching this on the replay right now. But so season 5, Strife. What was your reaction? What stood out to you? Were there things that just hit you in an interesting way about season 5?
Oh man, it was really it was a really good season for them to introduce more characters into the mainstay. Seeing Chozen kind of fit right in within the rest of the Miyagiverse with people he's never interacted before, such as Terry Silver, Johnny Lawrence, and Mike Barnes, was a lot of fun. Especially because as I kind of mentioned in my video, it's very nice to see him take that big brother approach with Daniel, just kind of like willing to help him out, willing to be loyal to not only him but the rest of the family as well. He's almost like a missing piece of the puzzle that helped to kind of keep the LaRusso family together. He is another voice of reason alongside Amanda. He's an uncle that Sam and Anthony both needed, and of course, like I said, with Daniel, the big brother, and kind of helped push him. Yes, you can defend yourself, but you can also go on the offensive when needed. Mike Barnes, which I'm sure we'll kind of get into this whole discussion a little bit later on, but really, really fun to see him. I think it's a really great piece of writing, considering that the one person you would expect to possibly be the most vicious of Terry Silver's allies, especially as seen in 1985, completely turned his life around. Which was kind of out of blue, and that's kind of why I love Cobra Kai, because they always throw things in like that to make you think one way, and then it just can completely go the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Kim Da-eun too, really, really great character. It's very nice how she kind of also ties in not only the legacy of Master Kim and Kim Sung-young, but also hopefully what they'll explore in season 6 is the rivalry between Master Kim and Sato.
Mm-hmm.
Of how that was a rivalry on that other front too. And then of course Terry Silver was always great, especially in the later half of the season. How far he was willing to go, and just especially the big fights he had at the end were just amazing. So
Yes. Yeah, it was really really incredible. The action this season was really something else, I think. And I really appreciated all of the Terry Silver screen time. My goodness. Terry Silver was, as a huge Terry Silver fan, we just got all of that material with Thomas Ian Griffith, just that wonderful acting performance. So yes, everything that you said. I want to thank Lisa Barrett, just became a member challenger.
Woo!
Thank you so much, Lisa. Thanks for supporting the channel, guys. Every membership, every super chat supports the channel, and we are constantly improving the live stream. We want you to have the best quality experience, so thank you so much. Lots of questions. I know people are asking about season 6. And we'll get back to that in just a second. We want to get through all of this great news here. So let's go to okay, so next, so Strife, if everyone's been watching this channel, Strife and I have played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, Shredder's Revenge, all these types of things, and he's got some stuff to keep you occupied until Cobra Kai season 6 comes around. So, Strife, if you want to give us sort of a brief overview of some of these things.
Sure. So Near Automata was, if you guys haven't heard of it before, it is a new kind of a newish series of games that are also made by Square Enix, of course, responsible for Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy. So it's getting an anime, which I didn't know that it actually was announced back in February. So I think a trailer and some pictures just dropped last night for this. So it's coming out in January 2023. So the first game originally came out just as Near, and then it got re-released. I forget what the title was. And then Near Automata came out in 2017 to very critical acclaim. I mean, to kind of give you an idea of how much this game has impacted kind of like the gaming community. As soon as this game came out, I saw like, and even now I still see cosplays, and this game came out 6 years ago. So, you know, especially because as you see here, the main picture is a hot robot. So that's another reason why people like dressing up as a 2B. So it kind of takes place in a proxy war between alien created machines and human crafted androids. So I have yet to play it. That's just kind of like the surface level I've known about, but I just know it's a really good game because I've heard really great reviews about it. And, you know, like typically Final Fantasy is kind of known for like turn-based combat. So this is also kind of more action-based combat. This also even crossed over into Final Fantasy 14, which is an MMORPG made by Square as well. So, you know, I would think this is a great show to check out, especially if you're waiting for Cobra Kai season 6 to come out, which we don't have a release date yet either, but I'm more than positive it'll get renewed for season 6. So,
okay, and of course, you know, we'll talk about season 6, and you're right. You know, they're confident it's coming. We don't have a release day, but what season 5 had a lot of, and what Cobra Kai has a lot of, are fight scenes. So we've got Tekken 7 coming out too, huh?
Yes. So this game has, I would highly recommend picking up this game. Anybody that's a Tekken fan. So it's Tekken 8 got announced you know, not too long ago with the trailer. So right now, this game that's normally $40 on Steam is $5.99 through tomorrow. So highly recommend playing this. Ken, I'm sure you've played Tekken before, right? Do you have
Oh
a
yeah,
favorite
it's
Tekken
classic.
you played?
Gosh, I mean, it was the early ones, you know,
Yeah.
kind of the classics. But what's your favorite Tekken?
Yeah, so I grew up on Tekken 2, Tekken
Mhm.
Tag 1, and Tekken 4, all kind of within the PS1, PS2 era. This game is like that on steroids. Has the classic characters, as you can see, Kazuya, Heihachi. You know, even some of the DLC, as you can kind of see, is also on sale as well. I actually
Nice.
picked this up yesterday, and me and my friend spent like 3 hours last night fighting each other, so it was a lot of fun. So definitely, even if you have never played Tekken before, this is really worth the steal. Like $6 for a fighting game that's normally $40. Can't beat that deal. So definitely pick it up.
Absolutely. And here's another thing too. This is a bundle, and it's if you get this, it goes to charity, right?
Right. So Humble Bundle, you guys might have heard me talk about it before in the outro of my videos. They always have like these great bundles. So all these games. So you have Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, Lego Star Wars Complete Saga, Lego Star Wars 3: The Clone Wars. You have Marvel Pinball Season 1 through 2, Star Wars Pinball Season 1 and 2, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Grim Fandango Remastered, Jedi Outcast, like 5 more other games, because I'd be here like all day listing all the stuff you get. But so you can get all these games for $10. And that's like a steal, because like some of these games are worth 20, $30 a piece. And the great thing about this is that actually this goes to help out the Starlight Children's Foundation.
Nice.
And if you, you know, you can also, if you want to directly support the charity, you can, of course, go towards, go more than $10. But Humble Bundle is so awesome. I've actually used a lot of resources from Humble Bundle, because they'll put out different bundles all the time of not only games, but software that I use in my own videos. So definitely worth checking out. You know, and this bundle is still up for another 7 days. So definitely, you know, if you want to support a good cause and also get some games out of it, you know, and you got $10 to spare, definitely worth checking out too.
Great. Thank you, Strife. Thanks for letting us know about all this stuff. Everyone definitely check those out. I saw Marcia says that her favorite is Tekken 5.
That's a good one.
So that's a good one. Good to see you, James. Wonderful. Great to see you all. And of course, the Big T. Thank you for joining us, Big T. I heard you were sad my doppelganger got arrested. Yes, we'll get to that, Big T. I think it's shameful. We're going to correct that, all of us together. So we'll get to that in just a little bit. Now we'll plug some videos, guys. If you haven't seen it yet, I have done a video. This is my longest like analysis essay video to date. This is all the lessons, 7, that Star Wars could learn from Cobra Kai. So if you are a Star Wars fan or not so much a Star Wars fan, I think it's really interesting how Cobra Kai succeeds as a legacy sequel series, whereas Star Wars, it seems like it's very divisive. So I have the link. I should have the link in the description, but definitely check out that video, what Star Wars can learn from Cobra Kai. And then, of course, Big T is here. So I'll bring up Cobra Cole. That's my short film with David Shatra, who plays Tom Cole on Cobra Kai, who we might be related to each other. And then also we might have something to do with Terry Silver and the Big T. It's very relevant now. And I think you'll see new shades of possibly the story with Big T and Terry Silver. So definitely check that out. Okay, so guys, we are going to be talking about Karate Kid and Cobra Kai. And Strife, let's start by talking about this news of a new Karate Kid movie set to come out in 2024. There's no word on a writer really or a director, and the creators of Cobra Kai, John Hurwitz, tweeted that they really don't know much about it themselves, but they wish it well. And so I want to get your thoughts as a connoisseur, as an expert in this Miyagi verse. And we've seen 4 original movies. We saw the reboot with Jackie Chan in 2010. What are your thoughts going forward about a new Karate Kid movie?
I'm kind of disappointed with this news, is because it's like, why would you try to change a formula that's already working? Because like, why would you have a new Karate Kid film and not have it and say that it's the return of the original Karate Kid franchise, but not have it have to do anything with the Miyagi-verse? Like, that makes no sense, because you can't have, the Karate Kid without Ralph Macchio. And even if you like, and I'm not saying I'm hating on the 2010 reboot, but it should have never been called Karate Kid. I realize they, plucked the formula and some of the same scenes from the movie, but had nothing to do with karate. I'm just going to say this. If Sony, and knock on wood, I'm knocking on wood right now, if Sony kills the Cobra Kai franchise because of this, I will never forgive them and will never support them ever again. Like, that's how mad this makes me. So
okay, so let's talk about that, because tell me what you mean by that. So the idea of this movie killing the Cobra Kai franchise, or Sony killing it, tell me what you mean could happen.
For example, like with Resident Evil, like somewhat relatable example, the Resident Evil Netflix came out. They said, hey, this is a new one. They had Lance Reddick, brilliant actor. Like, no, I'm not hating on Lance Reddick whatsoever. But they basically said, hey, we're just gonna slap the Resident Evil name on this, and pull some elements from that, but not do anything to make it a justifiable series. And that series not only flopped, it got canceled, even though they had plans for season 2 because they thought people would like it. It's like, why would you mess with the formula? Like, I don't know why it's so hard to make a good Resident Evil movie. Like, it's not that hard. Put some people in a creepy old house, have zombies. Like, it's very telling that people that make amateur films based on video games that do very better than what Hollywood can do. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it. There have been very few good examples of video game adaptations done right. Like, the only one I'm going to give credit to as the most recent of a big movie that Hollywood's done right is Sonic. Everybody loved both Sonic movies that came out so much that they're setting up for Sonic 3. I don't know why they can't get it right. So that my point being is that you have Cobra Kai, like this juggernaut that came out of nowhere that like only elevated itself when it moved from YouTube to Netflix. Why would you try to like destroy that? Like, why would you change a formula that's already working? Why would you say this is the return of the original franchise, but not have any of the original actors from it that were in those movies? Like,
Right. And we do have confusion about it. We've got Oatmeal Joey Arnold saying Sony says it's not a reboot with a question mark.
right.
And they also said it's a return to the original movies, but how is that possible? Which, I mean, that's
Exactly.
my question. How is it possible if it's a return to the original movies if none of the cast is involved? I don't
Right.
know. James says, I hope they're going to do what Disney has done with Star Wars and make so many movies, series, spin-offs, milking it to death. And I think he means like, I hope they're not going to do
Yeah.
what they're going to do. So yeah, it's really interesting. I don't know if you remember Strife. I think it was a few weeks before the release of season 5. There was a story that came out that talked about this idea of a Karate Kid movie that took place in New York and actually was this a younger martial artist that was training either an older person. It was like kind of a reversal of the original, and I think it was kung fu again, at least in
Mhm.
that report. So I don't know. Is that what this is? I guess we don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never heard of it. I mean, the only other thing I can think of is that they're denying that it has nothing to do with the Miyagi verse now. Kind of like
Right.
how Ewan McGregor lied about, the whole Obi-Wan spinoff. That's the only thing I can think of. Like, but like it just it makes no sense. Like, how can you say this is the return of the original franchise and have nothing to do with the original franchise? Like it's like,
Right.
and like I know like the big three have expressed of making spin-offs and movies, which I trust them because there's so many avenues with how much they fleshed out characters and stories and details. Like I'm okay with them doing spin-offs and movies, but like what the heck, Sony? So
Right. Yeah, prequel movies would be fine.
mhm.
Bitterbrookie said the remake left a bad smell in the Karate Kid universe, then Cobra Kai redeemed it. A new movie is unnecessary. And
Right.
when you talk about like the movie killing Cobra Kai, I'm thinking, well, does that mean that Sony has a strategy of maybe ending the Cobra Kai series and then transitioning into movies, like rebooting the movies, rebooting the story, with a new cast, and ending the Cobra Kai series? Like, I hope hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully they won't end the Cobra Kai series to pursue this
Right.
sort of reboot of the movies.
Yeah, it's hard to say because I mean, the creators have said that like season 5 had a finality feel to it, which they like that, and that was kind of intentional. But the plan has always been 6 seasons, and they are working on a season 6. It just hasn't been written yet because obviously they're also working on Obliterated. But
Mhm.
they said not to worry. I mean, especially like is season 5 still number 1 as of today? Has anybody checked that?
It is not. It
Okay.
As of yesterday, I think the Dahmer series took it over.
Okay, but
So
still, I mean,
it's
it's
number
still
2.
yeah, I mean, I think that's still the longest streak it's been at number 1 though, right? Or
I
close to it?
It's close to it. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely at least rivals season 4.
right. So, I mean, like, the thing is it has a track record of, being number 1 anytime it comes out. So, I think that speaks for itself that they're definitely gonna renew it for season 6. And, they kind of, I guess, and to kind of somewhat make this somewhat of a longer explanation, um the big three have said they've always had like an outline with season 3, and we can kind of talk about this comparison I'm talking about later on. But it's almost like when people book wrestling, like they have like, okay, we need these two people to feud, we need this good guy and this bad guy to fight each other. They have a point A to point B, so that's like the outline that they write for the Cobra Kai series. Then it's just filling out all the details, all the stops, the road, and whatnot between
Mhm.
destination A to destination B. That's kind of how like that writing works, which it seems to be in the series. So
Right. And Liz, good to see you, Liz, says young Miyagi could be very interesting. We'd see a different Miyagi, impulsive and willing to humiliate young Sato in public. Yeah, I mean, and that's interesting. Like if you had like a
mhm.
spin-off movie or something like that.
Right.
We had a discussion with Drew from the Last Row podcast
Mhm.
talking about bringing back the Karate Kid, and this was based on that leaked outline, if that's true. The problem I think we had with it is that the Karate Kid movie is a classic.
Mhm.
So if you are using that name, the Karate Kid, and you're changing the story where it's not the Karate Kid,
Yeah.
you should probably just call it something else. You
Yeah.
know,
Right.
and it's just I don't. It's hopefully if they're being truthful, I mean, or being straightforward with their intentions, then the movie, if it's a true return to the Karate Kid, it will feature the same characters. Maybe they'll completely recast it. Maybe it'll be a complete remake. Maybe that will stick very closely to the original. I don't know, but
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't
It's
know if
like
that's necessary.
it's like what you just said too. Is just like if you're changing it, don't call it the Karate Kid. That was everybody's argument with the Resident Evil Netflix series because they changed everything. Why call it Resident Evil? And it shot itself in the foot. So
Right. And I agree. We did a video about Resident Evil Code Veronica that is on your channel. Everyone check that out if you're a Resident Evil fan. But it's kind of the same thing. It's like, that did not get renewed. I think interest dropped off because while it had some interesting ideas, great actors, it just wasn't Resident Evil, but it
Right.
had that title. And I
Yep.
think that's the problem. It's like sometimes these networks want to use the IP or the title to get viewers to come in, but if it's too different, it's just not going to work because fans aren't
Right.
going to like something that's not what they know.
Yeah, it's just out of touch. It's like it's when they focus too much on profit and not how good something should be. So
Right. Zaround says they ruined the 2010 movie by not calling it the Kung Fu Kid. So that's an interesting point. Like just the
Yeah.
title of it, they could have brought up the idea of the Karate Kid, but calling it the Kung Fu Kid kind of would separate it a bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? The title?
I think that would have given it a little bit more appeal, and it makes sense because I mean, look at the name tied to it. Jackie Chan, known
Right.
for being all kinds of martial arts movie, drunken kung fu, like stuff like that. And not to like again, Jackie Chan and what's his son's name? What's Will Smith's son's name that was in that?
Jaden?
Jaden. There we go.
Yeah.
I mean, they were both great actors. Like,
Yeah.
it's been a while since I've seen the remake. They were both great. It's just like, calling it the Karate Kid and not having anything to do with, karate, and it was all mostly kung fu. That's me like saying, hey, I'm going to eat this hamburger and it's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's two different things.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, guys, now I want to get into sort of our main discussion for today, and I'm sure a lot of you are very interested to talk about. Let's head into our discussion.
Okay.
KenCast discussion.
All right. So let's bring this up. We've got I want to bring up these thumbnails. Here, Strife, are 3 videos. Now, anyone who's a Cobra Kai fan needs to check out these videos. They cover these major characters that we have on our thumbnail today: Johnny, Mike Barnes, and Chozen. And Strife has gone into insane detail on all these characters. It brings you up to speed. He recaps the history of each of these characters, what we've seen with them, and where they might be going in the future. And this is now the first time in Miyagi-verse history in season 5 where they come together and they actually fight together. So everyone, I've got links in the description to all these videos. And let me just ask before we launch into this discussion, Strife, what inspired you to make these in-depth videos on these characters?
Oh man. So I was always a big fan of Cobra Kai Theory. Especially back in the YouTube days when season 1 and season 2 came out. And I tell everybody, and it's 100% true. I became a YouTuber by accident. It was never intended. Anybody that really knows my history knows that I was very heavy on Twitch for a few years until I started doing that. Thank you, Lucifer, by the way. So when season 3 trailer dropped, I felt like a lot of people were sleeping on the Cobra Kai video game because the trailers really didn't do a lot of justice to how the game looked. Kind of like I said the same thing with Cobra Kai. I wasn't sold on Cobra Kai's very first trailer of season 1 because I was like, oh man, this looks like it could be bad, but I was thankfully proven wrong. So I noticed that nobody in the season 3 trailer was talking about Sean, who we didn't really know by name at the time, and he was like, because like the Cobra Kai video game had featured characters, both minor and major, as bosses and mini bosses from season 1 and 2, except Sean. And I was like, where's this? Did they just make him up for the game? I said, he's got to be from something. And then when the season 3 trailer dropped, I was like, oh, this is the guy not everybody's talking about. So I'll just make a video on it. And it blew up. So I was like, you know what? I'll probably, I don't know like how long I'd be doing this. So I'm going to make like one video on one of my favorite characters, which was Johnny, because I noticed there was a lot of comparisons. Like when I was rewatching stuff for getting ready for season 3, there was a lot of similarities with him and Miyagi. So, and like even down to like, not even with just references, down to musical motifs. And I was like, you know, like this has to be talked about. Nobody's really like, nobody else has ever paid attention to this. So I started doing that. And then I just didn't think much of it. And I was just like, okay, like, you know, I'll just put this out there. And then, you know, I'm going to enjoy season 3 like the rest of us. Bit of Rookie, thank you. And so, yeah, I put it out there. And then next thing I know, I was YouTube partner. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll keep doing this. And I had wanted to experiment with video essays for a while, but more specifically with video games. So, you know, that's kind of what I've liked about doing that. I kind of experimented to just talk about stuff that I love. So yeah, that's kind of how I fell into it. So
that's absolutely wonderful. I love these videos. That they're great. And as you know, I love the deep dive character videos, and Strife's videos I'm a huge fan of. They're great. I love, it's like comfort food. You feel great watching it because you spend time with these characters and you refresh everything we know about them. And then you go into detail and everything just flows. It makes sense. I love the videos. Claude Leon, thank you so much for the cup of coffee. Let's see. Oh, okay. So that's the sticker. So thanks for the cup of coffee. Appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Right. So let's talk about this. They're together for the first time now. How did that hit you? What is it like that these characters are now together in the same universe together?
It was I had always wondered, that was like my big thing was like, okay, how are they gonna make them intersect without like ruining it, you know? And I thought the fact that, you know, Mike Barnes now being like completely redeemed and whatnot was out of left field, but it was also kind of funny, like in an ironic sort of way. So it's like the guy that had the most anger and now has the most control of his life, all because he stayed away from karate. And you know, it was very interesting to see how like you know, the fact that they Chozen like misunderstood what Mike Barnes was doing and just started attacking him. You know, that kind of just sensed to like, I like that in the sense that he was overzealous, being very protective of Daniel because of, you know, what happened. And like, because like this guy spared his life, so he's gonna do whatever it takes to make sure that this guy doesn't get killed either. So, you know, I feel like even though Chozen had Daniel's forgiveness, which I've kind of said in my video, he was going to do whatever it takes to complete his mission. But it was very nice for them to kind of like interact and whatnot. And even like Mike Barnes, you know, like misunderstanding. And I just, I love the fact that Mike Barnes was the one to also convince them to attack Terry Silver directly because, and I've made this meme and joke before on Twitter, but that could have not, like, if I knew that show wasn't Cobra Kai, that easily could have been a final mission Grand Theft Auto cutscene where they're like taking on the big bad guy. So, yeah, it was very, it was just very funny too of like how like also the rivals weren't scared of Mike, where he's like, oh, he doesn't look so bad to me. Like that exchange always just like kind of kills me and whatnot. So it was so great. I liked how, I definitely hope we see more. I also understand that Sean couldn't be in the series as much as he wanted to because of the rotator cuff injury. So I totally get that. But yeah, I'm hoping to see more. And I think one of the creators said that we definitely will see more Mike. So
good. Oh, I'm glad. And of course you talk about that finale where they go after Terry Silver. And Marco, I just want to say, I agree with you. And all of you watching right now, stay tuned. This idea of free silver or save Silver, this is going to be a major campaign from me because I think a lot is misunderstood. As much as respect as I have for Mike Barnes and Chozen and Johnny, they did do a complete illegal break-in to Terry Silver's house, and they stole stuff. Like, it's just, I, Terry. So, I mean, my goodness, I'm not saying I'm like paid by him, but I'm a fan of him, and I think people have the wrong idea, and we need to, and all this stuff about Terry Silver dying. This is just, we have to end the propaganda. Okay, Terry Silver is great, and people have the wrong impression. So we'll get to that. Muhammad says, I wanted to see Mike and Silver fight, but I'll settle for Mike versus Young Kreese next season. That's funny. That's interesting. And that might be a reference to, I guess, in the prison, how it kind of swapped to Young Kreese fighting, I'm guessing. Yeah, John said the injury is why we didn't see much of Sean in season 5. So that's new to me. I didn't know that, because that would be something, that would be one thing that I wish we had more of Mike Barnes, more time with him. So I didn't know that he might have had an injury. So that's too bad if he was limited.
Right.
Yeah.
I still like remember like yelling like in like excitement, because when he took Min Jun out in 2 attacks, like he just picked him up, rammed him, and like right hook, and he's like, get up. I was like, oh my God, like Mike is gonna destroy everybody. And then the statue, I was like, oh, come on. So
right.
Yeah.
And Peter brings up, what's worse than a stolen Rembrandt? Stealing a stolen Rembrandt. Save Silver. Yeah.
Double steal.
But the thing is, like, look, I mean, we'll get into this in future videos, but I mean, let's look at that for a second. Silver collects all this stuff. And, he was talking to Chozen about the sword and talking about, hey, that's what the auctioneer told me. It's probably BS, right? So I'm sure when he got that Rembrandt, he kind of was half expecting that it wasn't the real thing, but he liked having it around. So he didn't have anything to do with it being stolen. Come on, guys, right? Nothing. And then Mike Barnes just taking it. Like, I doubt Mike Barnes knew whether it was stolen or not. He just took it because he wanted to probably unload it on the black market. That's malicious intent. That's
I'm just gonna say that was 34 years of karma coming back, because Silver broke into Miyagi's house, stole, and instructed him to miking them to attack both fronts. So I'm just saying, man, it's karma. Comes around.
Yeah, but the weird thing is, though, Daniel wasn't with them. He broke into Miyagi's house, but everyone who raided it, I mean, they just went nuts. I don't know. If Daniel didn't go, then none of them should have gone, I think. Let's see. James Ken Cole, what do you think of the idea of a scene in season 6 with a de-aged Sean and Thomas about the conversation or possibly fight after their loss in Karate Kid 3? Well, I want to get Stripe's thought on this. I'm always a fan of filling in those gaps and filling in those details. And with the limited time we had with Mike Barnes in season 5, I mean, I would welcome that. I'd love to know what happened between them. It's interesting that Mike Barnes says, something along the lines of like, I haven't seen Silver in years. Well, that's different than saying like, I haven't seen him in 35 years. Like he said, I haven't seen him in years. So has he seen Terry Silver more recently than Daniel had? Did they keep up some kind of connection for a while? I don't know. What do you think? Is this an interesting story point for you, Strife?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely like to see the conversation happening, but if we're talking about a physical fight, like right after the tournament, I mean, Terry would easily sweep him, because, he's like, as I kind of talked about my Mike Barnes video, he taught Mike, obviously, parts of the Quicksilver method, and, John Kreese and Silver both trained him in Cobra Kai, but notice that, like, I know even though it was like a faux fight in front of Daniel, but I mean, obviously, like, Silver would have still beaten Mike at that age. I don't know if they would have like a student even back then beat a master, so but I definitely still want to see some kind of conversation of that happening. But if we're talking about, fast forward a few years where Mike is still Mike's older and so is Terry, then that could be an interesting idea too.
Right, exactly. And then talking about Terry, Santiago says it's cool how Silver went from coward in Vietnam to, quote, I'm not afraid to die. And then this, of course, brings us into the current controversy of Terry Silver potentially dying, or people thinking that he's dying medically, and maybe that's why he's not afraid to die. What do you think of that idea that Terry Silver is dying?
Oh
Just
yeah,
go.
I talked about this a little bit in my what will happen season 6 video. Like I said, I don't think they're going to kill off a character like that, and and I can understand like the hints where he's like, youth is the one thing money can't buy, and whatnot, and of course, I'm not afraid to die, but I really just saw that like when when he was like, I was meant to die on the battlefield. I really just saw that as a reference to Karate Kid Part 2. I didn't really think of any of that stuff because like remember Chozen was the same way, where when Miyagi wouldn't stab him with the spear, he was like, you're a coward. And then when Daniel held him up, live or die, he chose die. So that's
Mhm.
really, because they're also like in my Chozen video, there are parallels that both, Chosen was basically taking pages out of Terry's book, not only in plans, but in some of their personalities and stuff that they were doing too. So I don't know. I don't think he would be terminally ill. And especially given how much resources that he has, he would obviously have already tried experimental treatment or something like that anyway. It's not like he
Right.
wouldn't have access to it. So it's hard to say.
Yeah. A great answer, Strife. I think you put it very succinctly. And yeah, I'm just going to say they're all lies. Terry Silver's amazing. He's alive. He's rich. I mean, he's obviously older now.
Mhm.
So there are many reasons why someone. How old is he supposed to be in the show? Maybe around upper 60s, 70, like around
Yeah.
Kreese's age.
Yeah, they're supposed to be around the same age. It's kind of hard too because like given the because if the events in 84, let's say both Daniel and Johnny were 17, so what they got, so like Johnny and Daniel have to be at least in their 50s, and I think I might I think Kreese was in his late 30s, early 40s in 84, 85. I
Yes,
don't know.
that sounds
But
about
yeah, I
right.
would say 70s at least. So
Yeah.
early
So I mean,
70s.
that is someone who is, I mean, if they're keeping on top of their health, they're going to be going to the hospital anyway, probably just matter of routine procedure. They're going to be thinking about their legacy anyway,
Right.
because obviously they're senior, they're very senior in age. Um, but I mean, look at him. Look at what he did physically in this season for someone that old. It is unbelievable. You
Right.
know, the idea that he was able to, my gosh, keep up with Chosen? Like, that's just not something that an ill 70-ish-year-old person would be able
Yeah.
to do, I don't think.
The
So,
the only counterpoint I will put in favor of the theory though is that the
mhm,
writers have out of nowhere put a casual line and actually make that intrude into something. And the biggest example of that is, Kreese, when he's talking to Hawk about recruiting in season 3, he's like, we're gonna need a new champion, somebody with no mercy. And then it shows Tori, who becomes All Valley champion. So
mhm,
it's not that it really it's 50-50 at this point. We won't know until season 6. So that's the only favor I will put in of that theory, is that they'll put something casually there as a line to where it's like, oh, it's not going to mean anything, and then it happens. So
right. Yeah, that's a good point. And Josh says Terry Silver, his behavior is acceptable. He suffers all attacks. Poor nice guy. I support you, Big T. I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you, Josh. Yes, indeed. So obviously Terry Silver, I could talk for hours on, but we today, I think, are celebrating the fact that Mike Barnes, Johnny, and Chosen are all together again. At least for me, that's huge. That's wonderful.
mhm.
These were Daniel's teen antagonists of the first 3 movies. They were completely separated. They didn't have any contact with each other. And the idea that all of them have now joined forces with Daniel, I think is incredible. The question I have for you, Strife, is going forward now that we've seen season 5, they had that epic drunken fight in the finale. Do you
Right.
see any of them breaking with Daniel at all? Do you see any of them? Are they going to stay? Are they all going to stay friends with Daniel going forward, or are they going to break with him?
Johnny for sure won't. I would it would just be like going 2-3 steps back at this point for Johnny to break with Daniel again. Like they've evolved enough to kind of like, and I mean, Johnny said it best. I'm in this fight to erase everything you did. He says that to Kreese. So if Kreese is going to be one of the big bads next season, there's no way that's going to break, unless it's some simple misunderstanding. But with Chozen, like Chozen, I kind of also said it's 50-50 if he'll still be around. I feel like he would still help train for the global tournament. But in the event, like I would also be okay with him going back to Okinawa and also, hopefully tying up that arc with Kumiko. Mike Barnes, hard to say, but like if he has his story rebuilt, I also wouldn't put it past to where if he's not teaching martial arts, he would perhaps mentor some of the kids on how to get over some of the rivalry, specifically maybe Tori and Sam. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to really say that any of them would break with Daniel because Mike Barnes, he was very remorseful for what he did, and then like when he realized that it was Silver who did it, he was so willing to help Daniel, like say, hey, let's just go beat him up. So Chozen, I mean, they have really amended, so I can't see that happening either. Because he said it best, defending Miyagi-Do is never a waste of time, nor is helping my friend. So
right. And guys, I want to take a second to draw your attention to, we are trying out a new streaming platform today. So let me know if you think that the quality is any different, hopefully better. If you like it or like the old version better, let us know in the comments. Thank you so much for your support, members and people who are contributing in the chat with super chats and stickers, makes that all possible. So Strife, you made a video. Mike Barnes is unpredictable. Okay, or at least that's one of his characteristics. And you did just mention that Mike Barnes kind of decided to just go on this all-out assault on Terry Silver's compound. But that was like right after he thought Daniel had burned down his place.
Right.
Do you see that unpredictability and possibly erratic behavior, meaning that he might not be entirely reliable as an ally going forward?
No, I think that more also that clouded judgment was, as Daniel said, he was on some type of substance, which they kind of, and you can kind of see it in his eyes too when he's like confronting Silver directly that and whatnot. Yeah, I feel like no, he would just still be an ally. I think the main part, what I also think why he might have accused Daniel in the first place is that right after Daniel appears in his life, even though the misunderstanding is pretty solved and whatnot, he could have thought that Daniel was pulling the page out of Silver's book to lure him into a false sense of security, as how he knew Silver did to Daniel. So that might be why he could have been, accused Daniel at first, or say, hey, or just wanted to like seek it to blame on him, on top of the substance abuse clouding his judgment. Obviously, when Silver says, or when Daniel says it was Silver, then he was like, "Oh, of course it would be Silver because, like he should have known then to accuse Daniel." So, no, I think he would still be a strong ally. The unpredictable part of it was just how his storyline turned out, and the fact that like even with the flip of a switch, as we saw with Johnny, who hadn't practiced karate in years. According to everybody in the Miyagi-verse, karate's like riding a bike; you never forget. So, which even Don Kreese said in season 4, you might leave karate, but karate never leaves you. So,
right, that makes a lot of sense. I would though, just play devil's advocate in favor of Terry Silver, which some might say is literally devil's advocate. Rabana, did Mike Barnes' wife leave him after his store burned down? It wasn't that clear. Yeah, I don't think we've heard about that, but
yeah, I was just going to say real quick, yes, it's very ambiguous that definitely some kind of problems. Don't know if she left him, but she probably was definitely upset of like what happened. So
here's my thing. Daniel, from the second he heard about that store burning down, he immediately blamed Terry Silver. Immediately. With no evidence. He believed that it was Terry Silver who did that. And he also told Chozen that Mike Barnes left town while the insurance adjusters were insurance was looking at it. So obviously the place was insured. Okay. If someone burnt it down due to arson, you would think that would be covered in insurance. Like if someone, that wouldn't be exempt from insurance. If insurance wouldn't cover it, though, that would be a case of them not probably doing their part. They've got problems at the store. They're not keeping up with maintenance. They've let things go, like electrical problems. They're not monitoring things. They're not doing their part, and that might be a reason why insurance may not cover a fire if it was due to negligence on the part of Mike Barnes. So I'm just going to humbly suggest that maybe the fire was due to Mike Barnes, like, and negligence in running the store, and the fact that Chozen took out some employees who maybe quit. They didn't want to work there anymore, and they were understaffed, and there were electrical problems. It might have nothing to do with Terry Silver. I'll suggest that.
Slight counterpoint, though,
Sure.
it wouldn't be that. Actually wouldn't be out of left field of insurance companies not covering a fire, because sometimes people will do that just to cash out on insurance policy. They'll purposely destroy their own store or whatnot. It's not that uncommon, both in movies and in real life. So that might have also been why that they were like, we're not gonna, if they decided not to cover it. So
that's fair. That's fair. I think that's fair. Let's see. What do we have? Let's see. Lucifer says it makes total sense for Mike to not have no bad blood regarding Daniel after all these years, since he was the only villain who didn't have a personal problem with Daniel.
Right.
And that's a good point too. And as you've looked into it, he really didn't have that personal. It wasn't a personal issue. It wasn't about a girl. It wasn't about his sense of honor. It was basically Mike was just hired to do that job. So it was never personal with Mike Barnes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing too. Is just like, kind of like what I've always said with like the actions of people, what they do in the Cobra Kai, is that's the reason. It's never an excuse. That's just the reason why things happen.
Right.
Mike, for whatever reason, tried to better his life, with obviously dubious methods, questionable methods. But it was, again, never a personal problem with Daniel.
Absolutely. And then Chris, thank you so much for supporting the channel, Chris. Really appreciate it. Every little bit helps. Thank you guys. Love the super chats. So yeah, Robana says leverage to the hilt. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is fascinating. I will say though, Strife, I would like to know more about that whole thing. And I will say, just from my standpoint, the way I see things with Mike Barnes, he was really jumping to conclusions, like crazy conclusions about what happened to his store. Like he jumped to the conclusion that Daniel burnt it down. Right. With almost no evidence, he just assumed Daniel burned it down. And then if Daniel said, no, I didn't do it, it was Terry Silver, like he immediately not only believed Daniel, but like agreed to assault his compound, his house. And so it does seem like maybe Mike he's emotional, erratic. Maybe he's not thinking about things evenly.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he, like I said, it could have been, maybe he thought Daniel was pulling the tables on him because of, like what Mike and Terry did to him, the elaborate plot. So he could have thought that Daniel might've did the same thing to him. He also just could have thought by associating with Daniel, it was indirectly his fault too. That's kind of how I also initially thought how that scene was playing out. It was like, oh, he's not saying Daniel did it, but he's saying it's because of you, my store burnt down. Like you ruined my life. That also could be that he's also placing blame on Daniel indirectly, even though he agreed to help Terry Silver back then. Daniel was the reason he got banned for karate. So, and it kind of goes back to what they said in the previous episode where Johnny was like, all I could think about was that one stupid kick that changed my life. But I always thought about how I could block it, how I could do all these other things. But, I needed to focus not on the mistakes, but what was in front of me. So,
right. And I'm sorry, Chris, I missed your comment. Terry did say Daniel was playing with fire. So Daniel did it. That's funny. I mean, I don't know. We didn't see what Daniel's up to. Maybe he went crazy. Who knows? Now we've got a lot of comments about fights, and Dutch keeps coming up. And I think I've seen some that have asked for your opinion, Strife, on these fight videos of who would win. Between Mikey versus Dutch fight. Back then, Mikey for sure. Today's time, if they brought back Dutch, I highly doubt Dutch would want any kind of beef. I could see him laid back and whatnot. And Solomon says, who wins, Dutch or Kenny new generation versus old generation? Where do you see Dutch in this? Because obviously he had that amazing scene with Daniel Karate Kid 1. People really throw him up there with the Cobras. We've got Johnny. We've got, Bobby, we haven't seen in a bit, but Chozen, Mike Barnes. Where if Dutch were to come back, where does he fit, do you think, as far as like fighting skill?
Well, I mean, if he's been in prison for a long time, I highly doubt he would just lay over for anybody. He wouldn't be a what do you call it, pushover. It's hard to say. I would still rank him still slightly below everybody, and that what I mean by everybody is Daniel, Johnny, Chozen, and Mike. We know Daniel and Johnny are even matched. That's why they've never won. No one's won a fight against the other in the current day universe. As I've explained in my Mike Barnes video, he actually tied with both Chozen and Johnny if you count the shoves and the flips as hits. So he's still evenly on the same battle, the level. I would still say Chozen obviously is slightly above, Daniel and Johnny because of how he was able to, take care of Johnny easily or Daniel easily. But I would still think he would still be a formidable. But as we've seen, like in the Cobra Kai, it was at season 2, episode 6, when the bar fight, karate never left them. So it's, it's like reflexes. Dutch would still be a formidable fighter. I don't see him being able to get the one up on any of those 4, though, personally.
Gotcha. That's good. That's good to know. And referencing a video, I'll reference it. We have a question. Aurelia says, can everyone quit saying that Chozen is the new Miyagi? Miyagi whooped by Silver in 1985, not even hit once. Chozen got smashed and slashed by Silver in season 5. No comparison. The first thing I'll say, Aurelio, is if you're interested in this topic, check out Stripe's video. I've got it in the description. It's very interesting, all the comparisons between Chozen and Miyagi. But looking at this comment, bringing up the fighting, what are your thoughts, Strife?
Well, I'm just going to spite Aurelio and say Chozen's a new Miyagi, first of all. So, no, I'm just kidding. I think people say that, though, like the same thing I said Johnny's the new Miyagi is because they obviously have morphed these characters after him. Doesn't mean that he's like they're better than Miyagi. It's just, that's kind of the closest thing we have to it. I still personally think Chozen is one of the closest examples we had to Miyagi, given the fact not just in skill, but in how he views life lessons. Also the fact that he mentors Daniel still, and he's like kind of a big brother to Daniel and whatnot. So as far as the fights, my thing was Silver had to resort to weapons as soon as Chozen shrugged off that hit and hit him with the counterattack to the knee. So I mean that kind of tells you that, like, and even though Silver got obviously like those 3 hits with like those 2, well, not counting the slash, like the 2 slashes on Chozen, right? Like when they're fighting outside, Chozen still counterattacks and wasn't stopped by that. So, and Chozen did all that when he was drunk. Imagine a sober Chozen fighting Terry. And to Terry's credit too, he was also drunk and he still got some hits in. So they needed that kind of like level playing field. So, I mean, given the fact that Chozen was still taking all that damage and still had the upper hand with Terry, I mean, like, what else can you say about that? That's not discrediting Silver as a fighter. Again, they were both drunk, and Silver got the first hit on Chozen, like first 2 hits on him. And then like when Chozen said, did that knee strike that he did to Daniel when they were training, Silver's the one that switched to weapons. Yeah, I mean, Silver needed the advantage, not Chozen.
I think that's an excellent point. Lucifer says no one's on Miyagi's level, but Chozen is the nearest to Miyagi.
Right.
Marcia says, I love Silver's cynicism when fighting. He's always smiling. Yeah, I agree. And again, shout out to Thomasine Griffith for an amazing performance, and Yuji for an amazing performance. I mean, there's a reason why everyone's so obsessed with that fight and these characters, is just because the acting was incredible. And so how wonderful that is, and just introducing all those great character moments during the fights and everything like that. Projects Hive says, sup, Ken Cole, how you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Also,
go ahead.
Sorry, quick interjection. I know people had also talked about Kim Sung Young. I just want to
Yes.
point it out that Hayden actually put a while back, like, who would you rank the fighters, Brains over Braun? He still said Miyagi is the strongest above everybody, even stronger than Kim Sung Young. So
Did he
obviously,
say that?
yeah, he did. I can pull up that tweet right now. Give me a second.
Okay. Because I know he put Kim Sun Young on Miyagi's level,
Right.
but
Yeah.
but he actually put Miyagi a little ahead of Kim Sun Young.
Yeah. I'm gonna send this to you through Twitter.
Okay.
Somebody asked, somebody said, who your top 5 characters in order of Brains and Braun go. So he said Brains, Dimitri, Hawk, Ali, Silver, and Devin. And then Braun said Mr. Miyagi and Master Kim, and everyone else much lower. So, and he could have easily said Mr. Miyagi equals Master Kim, comma, and everyone much lower, but he didn't.
Oh, okay. That's yes, I see that now. Sorry, it might be tricky for me to share that, but see, I took that as he was on the same level, but that's a good point.
But I have seen
Yeah,
that other
that's
tweet that you're talking about though too. That
Yeah.
that he is a dark Mr. Miyagi basically, as far as fighting skill. So
actually, yes, that's a great point. Maybe that might be something to ask Hayden someday to go deeper into that.
What did you mean by that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
This is very important. We need to know about
Yeah.
Master Kim Sun Young. So it was incredible seeing him in season 5. I love that flashback. I love that we got to see him finally. He's this kind of mystical character, at least in my brain. So it was kind of cool to see him. And well, Strife, this has been absolutely fantastic. Time has flown. I think we might have to wrap it up, but I just wanted to say, if anyone's still interested in all this, check out those videos I have linked that Strife has done about these 3 characters. They're very comprehensive. I think you'll really love them if you haven't seen them. And Strife, do you have any closing thoughts today on any of these characters?
Yeah, quick response to this comment that Solomon put. He says, we've never actually seen Kim Sung Young fight. So how do we know if Miyagi could beat him or he can't beat Miyagi? That might have been like delayed before I said my answer, but Hayden said so himself. And you could say the same thing about Sato, that we've never seen Sato fight, but we know how good his reputation is. Not to mention he produced Chozen as one of the best fighters ever in the Miyagi-verse. So that's still, and the same thing with Kim Sung Young, still producing one of the best, Silver, Kreese, Kim Da-eun, whatnot. So, but yeah, hey, if Hayden says Miyagi's better than Kim, then I'm not going to argue with that. So, but closing comments, season 5 was great. I definitely have some more videos on the way. So definitely stay tuned for those. But I'm looking forward to season 6. I will say future videos outside of Cobra Kai. Definitely be on the lookout for more Rocky videos. I'm going to start working on those again. Cool. But yeah, that's kind of what I got as far as I got. So.
That's great. Everyone, if you, for some reason, haven't subscribed to Strife the Warrior, head over there now. Links in the description to the channel. Just click on Strife the Warrior. Go ahead and subscribe. Tons of great content coming. And if you enjoy this channel, go ahead and hit subscribe too. Subscribing just makes you feel good. It makes the rest of the day better. And it ensures lots of great content coming your way in the future when you sign on to YouTube. So, and that supports us as well. And hit the notification bell so you know when we have content coming out. I'll be having more KenCast and also more videos coming out. So everyone stay tuned. We have lots of great content coming on. It's been amazing seeing you all today again after the marathon. And I look forward to seeing you again in the future. Strife, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
And the pleasure is mine. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your Saturday. And we'll see you next time.